Now, the news. PSA, aka Palmetto State Armory, has a new one for us this week. It's called the Jackal 9, and it is an expansion of their Jackal lineup of guns. This one was actually part of their annual customer poll that I talked about with Cameron on the TGC podcast a little while back. Unlike the Jackal 10 and 15, which are piston-driven guns, this one is a direct blowback system using a monolithic upper with a reversible charging handle. The lower is from their ARV or AR9 type guns, which use Scorpion-style mags. These Jackal 9s have an SB Tactical Triangle-style brace that folds out back because, unlike the normal ARV, these do not require a buffer tube out the back. The barrel is a 6.5-incher, and the handguard has a couple M-lock slots for hand stop or other accessories. MSRP is unknown because they are set to release on the 30th of this month. I'm guessing it'll be around $1,200 to $1,400 MSRP. Now, the question is, are you interested in another blowback PCC? We've seen a bump in these getting released, and I know we will see even more PCCs before the year is over. So, do these get you excited? I'd love to hear your thoughts on them down in the comments. Welcome back to another episode of the Gun Collective News. I'm John Patton. GunCon is coming up really fast. If you're new to this channel, that's my event where we bring together a crap ton of different gun companies to show off their latest and greatest stuff. I mean, there's a whole bunch, like 50 some this year, along with a bunch of gun tubers to hang out, and they do Q&A panels. And then I also make all of the brands give away stuff as part of their participation. Yes, I make them all give stuff away. On top of that, tickets include your lunch and a GunCon t-shirt for $50. Unless you use the code TGC, that code will save you $5 on each ticket you grab. The event is happening June 28th in Cleveland, Ohio, which means you can get there easily from a bunch of places on the East Coast. It's only a 6-hour drive for me, and I live outside of Philadelphia. Go to guncon.net and support the best independent gun event out there. I'd love to see you. Moving on, Springfield Armory has a new version of their 2020 bolt-action rifles. It's called the Heat Seeker, and they say that this is a chassis-based rifle crafted for shooters who demand bolt-action precision and an AR-style modularity in one uncompromising platform. They are using a Sharps Bros Heatseeker chassis, and it has some nice features overall. The action itself has a 90-degree bolt handle, a removable/swappable bolt knob, a fluted bolt, EDM raceways, and a pick rail on top. That is combined with a 16-inch carbon fiber barrel in either 6.5 Creedmoor or 308 Winchester. On the back of the chassis, you have a B5 Systems precision stock, followed by a B5 grip and a Trigger Tech field trigger. This is a nice setup on paper. Overall weight is right at 7 pounds, 7 ounces, which is certainly not the lightest, but also not PRS gun heavy. They come with a metal AICS pattern 5-round mag. Likely only one of those in the box, which is garbage. And the MSRP is $2,355, $2,355. The question is, are they accurate enough to warrant that price tag? I feel like a 16-inch 6.5 Creedmoor is selling that cartridge short, and a 1 in 10 twist 308 that's only 16 inches isn't always known for crazy accuracy either. Maybe we'll have to get one of these in to shoot it at distance and test that theory. Is it worth that kind of coin? Maybe. I'm sure you guys will tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. You always do. Next up, Legacy Sports International, the importer of Howa rifles, has announced a new shotgun under their Pointer brand. It's called the Field Tech 12, and it's pretty simple. It's a 12-gauge semi-auto with a 3-inch chamber inside a 28-inch barrel, fiber optic front sight, and a raised vent rib. It comes with 5 chokes and has an MSRP of $499 for the black version, and I'm estimating something like $525, $550 for the other ones, but their website is absolute trash and contains basically no information. My guess is this is another Turk Nelly and is kind of a roll of the dice with whether it'll suck. In other shotgun news, a company you rarely hear from these days, Charles Daly, has a new version of their Honcho shotguns. This one appears to be an 870 pump action clone with a 14-inch barrel with a 3-inch 12-gauge chamber. The furniture that makes this special is a checkered walnut, and the front sight is a blade style. It's pretty straightforward and carries an MSRP of $371.85. And since we've never covered the rest of the Honcho line, They also have a black version of this, and then a California version with an 18.5-inch barrel, and then they also have a triple barrel version as well. I don't remember when, but they took over, Charles Daly took over importation of the triple barrel shotgun from Chiappa a bunch of years back. Notice that you don't see these guns anywhere. That's because Charles Daly is bad at their jobs. And I need to call this out because it's so bad. Colt released a recall on their CBX Precision and TAC Hunter bolt-action rifles. All of them. That's all the CBX rifles. Oddly enough, there isn't a single mention of this on their main website. Nowhere. But a site exists if you Google it. The issue at hand is that some of these rifles can go off without pulling the trigger when the safety is disengaged. Take the safety off, pow! This line of guns has been completely discontinued, so you can only get a refund entirely or a replacement wheel gun instead of the bolt action, like an Anaconda or a Python, plus some cash for the Precision version, or the King Cobra if you have the TAC Hunter version. So not only did they discontinue the line entirely, but they're also entirely recalling it, and it's also not mentioned anywhere on their main website. It's kind of weird as a whole. However, if you do end up with a severe injury, you could use a med kit from this week's sponsor, Medical Gear Outfitters. Whether you're looking to get an IFAK for yourself like the Civilian Medical Trauma Kit, or maybe something a little bit more diverse to keep in your truck like the Overlander First Aid Kit, they've got you covered. They even have one called the Mom First Aid Kit that has everything you can think of for minor boo-boos all the way up to major trauma. These kits from Medical Gear Outfitters will help you stay prepared for anything, and to make it even more affordable than it already is, use the code TGC10 for 10% off at medicalgearoutfitters.com. Such a good segue. Big thanks to Medical Gear Outfitters for supporting TGC. We really appreciate them. Let's keep it rolling with this week's friendly fire question. If you want to ask me a question, slam it down in the comments with the words friendly fire so I can go back and find it. That's how this works. It's great. We've got a good thing going. We've got a few questions this week. Poppy Squatch says, is Glock ever going to catch up with the rest of the world? Well, as of now, I feel like even though I want them to innovate and change things up, I don't feel like they feel the need, given their track record, and like their guns are in every single gun store in the US. Do they really have to if everything's going well? That'd be nice, but Up North Al says, what's your thoughts on the FRT settlement? First, Adam covered this on the Big 2A this past week, so go watch that episode if you haven't yet. And in my personal opinion, it was a dog shit settlement and is only a slight step above the ban being enacted, really. They didn't admit to them not being machine guns. They essentially created a monopoly by saying Rare Breed is kind of the only ones that can produce this, and the government's going to help them fight that. And then this costs people millions of dollars on both sides of that lawsuit. It's dumb. Akuthi says, would you be opposed to seeing these chassis-style systems from pistols moving into other gun types, like PCCs? Not at all. I think that'd be awesome, especially if we start seeing really good triggers coming out of that concept. William Delanoche says, thoughts on the Gilboa double-barrel rifle? I think it's a range toy at best, but I want one. Forgotten Weapons has a really good video breaking down how it all works, if you want to go watch that. And WI5161 says, do you think there is a point where gun tubers become out of touch with normal gun owners? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think there is a point. However, it depends on the person, really. I've been fortunate enough to have met pretty much all the biggest gun channels out there at some point or another. And even when they become millionaires, yes, some of them are, they don't always just lose touch because of that. They don't lose touch with what people want and need. I will point out that just because someone makes a lot of money doing gun videos for a living, that does not mean that they are a shill and their opinions bought. It doesn't mean that. It just means they're successful at what they do. My friendly fire question to you guys this week. Would you like me to make a video talking about how gun channels make money and whether or not they can be trusted? I made a video like that like 5 years ago, but I could absolutely do an updated version for you guys if you want me to do that. Sound off in the comments. That could be fun. I think a lot of people just don't know how it works, and I have particularly good knowledge of how it works. Let's get into some more new stuff, shall we? let's do that. Ferrotech, a company known for creating some, I don't know, more interesting accessories, has a new one for the Keltec P17. Now, if you're unfamiliar, the P17 is one of the cheapest 22 pistols out there, and in my opinion, it brings a ton of value. I think it's like 16 round mags. MSRP on that gun is $220. Well, Ferrotech now has a way of sort of turning that thing into a PDW with their new FT17 chassis kit. There are 7 different versions, all of them centered around what you put on the back end. You could get like an SBR setup, you could get a brace, there's a bunch of different versions. Prices range from $150 up to $340 depending on which one you opt for. There's also a body style option with the Pro version adding a spot to stash a spare magazine. This would, in my mind, be a really fun thing because even if you go all in, it's not crazy money, like 500-ish, and 22 is cheap to shoot still. So that could be cool. In other accessory news, B5 Systems has a new stock called the MPS, or Modular Platform Stock. This is meant to be mounted to guns that have a pick rail on the rear, like that PSA we mentioned at the top of the episode. It's got an adjustable cheek piece, 5 positions of adjustment, left side folding hinge made of steel, and some sling and QD points built in, and they can be had in 5 different colors, and the MSRP is $200. It's cool to see B5 expanding their market and doing a bunch of new products this year. Foxtrot Mike, aka FM Products, has a new buffer setup called the RMB, or Recoil Mitigation Buffer System. They say that this buffer eliminates bolt bounce, reduces felt recoil, and improves accuracy during rapid fire on AR-9s. It's meant for those. If that's all true, that could be a cool product. Now, because it is a bit longer than in normal AR-9 buffers, you may need to use a longer A5 buffer tube to get it to run right in certain guns. That said, the MSRP is $59 for the buffer alone, or $79 for the full setup with the tube. That's not that bad at all, really, if it works. I'm sure they'll be integrating this into full guns in the future. Neat. In other new product news, Laser Ammo releases Match King 2011 sort of laser training gun. It's based on a gun from AW Custom, which is an airsoft company. They modify it to have a laser indicator, and it recoils like a normal airsoft gun. So I guess if you're into dry fire and shoot a 2011, this could be really cool. It's a neat idea. I think it is a neat idea, and I hope they expand on this concept with other models of guns. MSRP on that is $440. And Ely, a company best known for making some of the best 22 long rifle ammo out there, has released a 2nd generation of their Ely Ultra ammo. Yes, apparently we're doing Gen 2 versions of ammo now. They say this new version has a refined bullet profile and optimized visibility, whatever the hell that means. They also say it's the best stuff ever, blah, blah, blah. Of course they do. This stuff is meant for folks that shoot 22 beyond 100 yards. MSRP is $20 for 50 rounds. Now, oddly enough, the 1st gen was released less than a year ago, so I bet that there were probably some issues, and this is supposed to correct those issues, but I couldn't find a whole lot of info besides like forum posts discussing what might be true.